welcome to the Sunday morning Samoflange. I'm Matt. It's just me on purpose. I'm gonna give Benjamin some time off, but I was thinking, not a few weeks ago, I met up with an old friend. We were talking about the job we used to work at together and just talking about all the fun stories. And I started thinking, wait a minute, what if I told top 5 moments from every place I've worked at besides my current place? Because I'm still saving up stories there. But from the other spots, I could come up with some top 5s. So for the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, this is what you get from me. Yeah. You may want to just go ahead and tune off now. But I'm going to talk about this because I think it's kind of fun. My first 2 jobs, I was mowing lawns with a buddy of mine. We call ourselves Armadillo Lawn Service. And I remember that. We used to have an armadillo who was flexing. Patrick was good at art. He could do that. And then it went to just like a little stupid picture of an armadillo. But we'd pass out flyers all the time. And Patrick liked armadillos. That's why we picked an armadillo. And then I'm going to talk about the other job I had. Now, I've talked about Cards, Coins, and Collectibles with Wes. Some of the best stories are there. And so I've done that on Prince of the Universe. So I want to do it Saturday morning Samoflange to get some top 5s here. And I'm going to talk about the lawn care and then what I did afterwards, okay? Which I'll save a little bit, even though some of you probably already know this. So anyway, having my own lawn business was a lot of fun. In fact, I remember I bought it off of Patrick and ran it for a little while, but until I was, I want to say 18, 19, I decided to quit it shortly after college. Because it was only a money maker in the summer, and I needed money all year long, not just in the summer. But we did have some fun times. In fact, there was one street, and still today, when I drive down that street, I can remember all the. I remember I can't remember. It was called Spencer, and we'd start on the house on the corner, and we virtually went to almost every house until the very end of Spencer Road. And sometimes we skipped a few houses, but what would happen is we mow the yard. The neighbor would go, "Hey, can you mow mine too?" And I remember we'd wake up early in the morning because the guy said we could get there as early as we wanted. So at 6 in the morning, we'd start that engine up and go. And we would go till that evening. I mean, till 7, 8 o'clock. We took a lunch break. But we would just go down that whole street and must have mowed, at least 20-something houses. Or 20, I don't remember. It was a lot. And they didn't all take an hour because I would mow, he would string trim, we'd blow a little bit, and that'd be it. We'd be in and out. Some of them we could finish quicker than others because some of them weren't big. I remember that first one was a little big. There was one guy's backyard and the first dude's front yard were the biggest ones. Everyone else had kind of mediocre homes that you could do in like 30 minutes flat, especially with the two of us. We could knock them out 20 minutes. But we had like 20-something homes, 24 homes or something like that, down that road. And I remember, because I remember if I got finished, I just go to the next, I wouldn't even, if he was finished string trimming, he'd go to the next house, but usually I was done mowing while he was blowing off the grass, and I would just point to the next yard, and he'd nod, and I'd go over there and start, fill up the gas tank and go again. Every once in a while, he'd bring the Bronco around and park it further up the road. But we had it down to a science, man, but I remember all day long, baby. For whatever, how many hours of daylight there were, 14 hours. We were just sitting there just banging them out. Fun stuff there. But that wasn't my memory. My number 5 was when we were cutting grass and someone had smashed, a flagpole with a golden eagle on it, the metal golden eagle, because he had run over the little ornament, the eagle ornament. And we couldn't find the eagle, but we found a wing, both wings. One of the wings had hit Patrick. We used to wear jeans because you never know when something would hit you. And it just knocked him and knocked a good chunk out of his leg too. He was bleeding for a while. We had to wrap it up. But he found the wing and I found the other one, but we couldn't find the eagle anywhere. So we kept those wings in our pockets. And that was like our little sacred thing. So every Saturday, we would just whoop out those little golden wings that we had in our pockets. Now, you're saying, Matt, whoa, did you mow grass in jeans in the summer in Louisiana? Yeah, I was a kid back then and probably stupid. I remember burning up, though. Those jeans would be soaking wet after a while. But it was just a good way to protect ourselves just in case a rock or something hit us and everything, even though I don't know how much protection that really helped thinking back on it. But, yeah, we used to do that because doing shorts, I tried shorts one time, and I remember just getting nicked in the knees and the legs, shins all the time. I was like, screw that. And so I'd wear jeans where it wouldn't hurt as much. So for me, I think it made a difference. But anyway, that the Metal Eagle wings was number 5. Definitely a good memory. I kind of wish I would have had Patrick around for this too, now that I'm thinking about it. Number 4, there was an old man, and he looked like a troll. He scared me. He had hair coming out of his ears and on his ears and everything. And he kept yelling at me. I was like, what? He went, go away. We don't want you here. Go away. And I was like, I'd never seen this dude before. I was like, who is this? And he has like a little wife beater on. He's kind of pudgy and short. And I'm like, where did this magical leprechaun appear? And so I just said, hey, Patrick, he wants us to go. I think we should go. So we left. And then we went to the next house. But then that lady came back and said, hey, I'm sorry, that was my husband. You come back here. I said, ma'am, he was pretty adamant for us to leave. She went, yes, but he's not paying y'all. I am. It's out of my little money. And I told him that. And so he's going to shut up and sit inside. I never knew. I thought she was a widow. I didn't know she had a husband. And I was like, okay. So I remember we came back, but that was kind of funny. These are kind of short, which is why I'm combining this with my other job. Number 3, there was this lady who always asked us to do a little bit extra. She said, hey, would y'all mind doing this too? Would y'all mind getting the flower bed and weeding? Sure. And so we do it and say, okay, and we charge her for it. And she goes, oh, I thought that was part of the deal. I thought she'd quote the yard cost we did, like $35. I thought $35 was the deal. I thought that was including the deal. I thought it was part of the deal. We're like, okay, well, next time it won't be. Okay. And then next time she said, hey, can y'all get up on the roof and blow the leaves off? He went, sure. And so we tried to charge extra for that. She went, oh, I thought that was part of the deal. Like she was just she was screwing us out of free work. So one day she says, okay, I need the flower beds. I said, okay, it's going to be a charge, ma'am. I said $25. I said, $25. I said, it's going to be $25 an hour. She went, okay. And so we did it, and it took forever, but we charged her. And so when she got the bill, it was like 25, and we did it for 2 hours. It was 25 a piece. So we charged her. We worked for 2 hours weeding those flower beds. We charged her $100 for the flower bed. She went, 100. I thought you said it was 25 an hour, and you only did 2 hours. I went, yeah, that's $25 a piece. And then she went, and then Patrick, before she could say anything, goes, I thought that was part of the deal. I almost lost it. And so she paid us and never called us to mow her lawn again. But Patrick's like, I thought that was part of the deal. We said $25 an hour. That's for each of us. I thought that was part of the deal. And so we threw it back in her face. I guess she figured, okay, I'll pay him this once, but she never called us back. But we were going to, because I told him, I said, Patrick, I don't want to mow her yard ever again. I was so mad that she was going to gyp us. Like 2 hours of work for just $25. Weeding, I didn't want to weed. I was thinking $50. I guess it's worth it, but still not worth it. But I remember turning to Patrick and going, I never want to mow her yard again. But she never called us. So never had to do her yard. I remember her name too, Miss Michaels too. Boy, I hated her. I hated her more than any other customer we had. That was the number one person I just could not stand. Anyway, number 2, number 1 are the same people. They're the Davises. They're a great family. I don't know if they're still alive. I know where they live because I remember that I know everyone's street, and I've been tempted to drive by and just knock on the door to say hello. And I'm sure Miss Charlotte and Mr. Pete would remember me. But again, this was 25 years ago. They may not be alive. I'm not trying to be mean. They probably are, but they may not. But the Davises were really nice. They were one of our oldest customers. I remember that, and the guy on the front, actually his name was Spencer of Spencer Street. The Spencers. But anyway, the Davises were the last yard we would do, usually in the evenings. And I was happy because Miss Charlotte was always nice. Well, one day she told us, she said, hey, or she told me, because I was the one controlling it at this point. She went, hey, I'm sorry, but Pete wants to mow the grass. I was like, oh, okay. She went, so we won't be calling you anymore. I was like, oh. And I was like, dang, because I hated, losing a customer, but it happened sometimes. And I was like, dang, but they were my favorite one. And it was okay because by myself, I had actually told everyone across the street from Spencer that we weren't doing it anymore because I didn't want to keep crisscrossing across the street. So I basically cut my houses in half, which I was still getting the full amount of pay for me doing less work, so I was happy. But I don't know why I said that, but I just didn't want to do all those yards in one Saturday, which I could have split it up. But I just didn't want to do that much work. And I didn't want to hire anyone either. And it was taking me longer to do houses. But when the Davises left me, I was like, oh, man, because that's the one house I have everyone on that street. Everyone on that street, I would have loved the Davises. But anyway, she calls me back a few weeks later and said, hey, we want you to cut the yard. I went, oh. I said, Mr. Pete got tired already? She went, well, he chopped off his finger. I went, what? So grass was getting clogged up in the lawnmower, so he just went and pushed it through with the lawnmower on. And, of course, cut off the tip of his finger. And had to be taken to the hospital, had to get put it back on. So I went in there, and they said, yeah. But I told her, like, my lawnmower, I can't remember, my lawnmower was getting fixed at the time. And I said, ma'am, I won't be over this. She was like, you can use Pete's. I was like, okay. So I went over there, talked to Mr. Pete. He has his finger wrapped, and he's making jokes at his own expense. So I went out there. I'm looking for blood, okay? I'm still a kid. You know, I'm like looking for blood because I think blood's really cool. There's not a single speck of blood on the lawnmower. In fact, the lawnmower is so clean, it looks like it's brand new. Miss Davis had cleaned the lawnmower because there was blood on it, of course. So then I saw where the grass stopped. You know, where the lawnmower had stopped. So obviously there's going to be blood on the grass. There is not a speck of blood on the grass. And I'm like, wait, what? And I remember I told her, I said, hey, I went out there. I didn't see where he had cut his finger. So where was it? She went, oh, it was right there where it stopped. I went, I don't see any blood. She went, I cleaned it. She cleaned the grass. She actually went out there with like Clorox or whatever and cleaned off the grass because she didn't want to show any blood. To this day, I don't know how she did that. How do you clean the grass from blood? But she did. She did that. So she went and cleaned up everything before calling me, I guess, so I wouldn't see the sight of blood. Even though, you know, like Spartacus, I want to see blood in the arena, baby. And there was no blood. And I just remember thinking that was so odd that she would clean the grass in her backyard. Probably threw away clumps. Probably mowed over it and threw away those clumps too. I don't know. But even cleaned the lawnmower. Lady cleaned the lawnmower because she didn't want to see the blood on it. Maybe she didn't like the sight of blood, but I was hungry for it, baby. I was going to drink it. I'm kidding. I don't even know why I'm going off on this blood thing. Number 2? Yeah. So number 1 has to deal with the Davises too. And she was a cat lady, had tons and tons of cats. And we had gotten the check, and we were walking on. We were tired. It's getting, the sun was already down by then. It'd be like 8:30. It was starting to get dark. It was dusk. By the time we're leaving, but we're coated. We're tired. I would have gone. I would go home, sleep, and then go upstairs and fall asleep on Saturdays, and well paid. But we took the check, and we were walking back to the Bronco, and she goes, "Come back here, damn it!" And we're like, whoa, was it Miss Davis? Is something wrong? She went, oh, no, I was talking to the cat. And we were kind of confused. She went, his name's Dammit. She named her cat Dammit. Why? Because it scratched her the very first time she dealt with it. And she said, that's what I said. I said, Dammit. Okay. That was a fun story. Now that I'm thinking about this, I kind of regret I didn't have Patrick in this. Maybe I'll bring him on another time. We'll talk about good old. I know there's one story that he thinks is so stinking funny. Back in the day, he would the girls would wave at you and drive off. They thought it was really funny, And right before they're about to wave, because I could tell they were going to do a drive-by wave as they were going across the turn light at us. So I waved and cut them off on the wave, and they like paused because they were supposed to do the wave, and I did the wave. And Patrick to this day thinks that because he said their faces were just like, no, like I ruined their fun little girly moment. I remember that, but I don't remember it being funny. I just remember going, oh nope, you're not gonna wave. I'm gonna wave at you. It wasn't that. I don't know. I didn't think it was that funny, but either way, he thought it was absolutely freaking hilarious. So again, maybe I'll have Patrick on here one day. All right, so now top 5. After that, I'm going to go into one of my number 5 here. After that, I went to work at Sanrio Surprises, which is a Hello Kitty store in the mall. I'll explain that story because that's one of my top 5 moments is how I got hired. But right now, number 5 was when I first got called Sanrio Man. There was a girl named Shannon. I remember her name, Shannon. I thought she was super hot. She worked at Ups and Downs was the name of the place. It was a clothing store. And, she was fine. She was fine. And she'd always come in and get the little, we sold like little sour strips. We'd buy a big box of them and then wrap them up individually and sell them for $1. They sold like hotcakes. My boss was super smart. She sold stuff that wasn't on Sanrio's, list of things to sell, but she would just mark up things and we'd make tons of sales. That she was really an entrepreneur, Miss Laretha was. But anyway, Shannon would come in and get, candy every once in a while. And she was the one that introduced me to the first Zero Bar. She said she really wanted a Zero Bar, but she wasn't getting a break that night. So when I went on break, of course, I ran to the Eckarts in the mall and bought her a Snickers bar and me one too, saying, I love Snickers too. And then I was planning on getting rid of it, but I was like, well, I bought it. I may as well try it. And I love Zeros. But she's the reason why at first. I remember she had a boyfriend too, and he had a big birthmark on the side of his face, like right on the top of his cheekbone. I thought it was like a burn, but I guess it was just like a birthmark. And he was scrawny with like thin little hair, like Kurt Cobain. I guess she just liked that. But that was her boyfriend, and I never know what became of her. But I was just head over heels for her. And but I remember she came in, and when I gave her the Zero Bar, she went, "Thank you, Sanrio Man. You're my hero." Number 5. I was like, I am a hero. I am Sanrio Man. Number 4 was when we closed. I didn't know. I went on vacation. This is back before internet or cell phones. And they had closed our store. They had announced after Christmas that they were shutting down the store, after they made their big Christmas haul. So we were out of a job by mid-January. Well, I didn't know because I would take a 2-week vacation with my family. And when I came back after Christmas, I noticed that the walls were bare. And that was a big no-no. If you had bare wall, you had to fill it up. So I'm trying to dig into I was like, man, we're short on everything. And I started trying to pack and fill in the little, bare patches here and there. And then some lady goes, I'm so sorry y'all are closing. And I went, what? And then my boss came out and said, oh, man, I need to talk to you real quick. And, of course, that's when I found out I was going to be out of a job in 2 weeks. A lot of my jobs, the job left me. I didn't leave it. You'll see. But I was so bummed because I had a lot of fun there. But now I was out. And I remember that was one of my worst. I always call this the worst day I ever had because when I came home from Christmas break, I was fresh in college, I think. A freshman or sophomore. No, I must have been a freshman. And Dad forgot to pay for our classes. So all of our classes got dropped. And I was so pissed because now we had to do late sign up and we had to just grab whatever classes were open, which were usually the bad classes. So that was a bummer. Then I went to work that day, found out I was going to be out of a job. Then I came home. My car broke down in the pouring rain in January, soaking wet, freezing cold, had to walk about a mile or so back to the house, back to the apartments we were living in at the time with Bruce and Roger. Soaking wet, freezing, pissed off because my car died. I'm losing my job. And then they told me that our rent was going up in January. We had to pay $50 more. I mean, everything. Nothing could have been worse. I had the worst day ever. I was so pissed. So pissed. That was a terrible day. All in one. But that's my number 4. There you go. Number 3 was, and I can't even read my own writing. What is that? Oh, getting hired. Sorry. Didn't even write that fully down there. But yeah, getting the job. So I decided, it was fall and I was done. I do fall cuts for a little while, but once September, October comes around, everyone wants their yard cut every 2 weeks. And then after a while, they're like, no, we're good. And I'm like, dog, because I was really hurting on money. I had my own, I'd moved into my apartment with Bruce and Roger. I was like, dude, I am screwed. I am screwed on this. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I remember I was buying my sister a present. It was January 6th or whatever. because that was or maybe the week of. It was after New Year's. And I walk in, the lady's there talking to me. I'm talking to her, and I'm joking, and she's laughing, and we're having fun. And she goes, "Hey, are you looking for a job?" And I went, "Yes." I said, "Do you know anyone hiring?" I'm thinking, cool, I could work here in the mall. She goes, "Yeah, I am." I said, "You are?" She said, "Yeah, I'm the manager here, and I need work." And she said, "I need helpers. A lot of my people left after Christmas, and I actually need one more," I found out. She said, "So we lost too many people, and no one wanted to stay on after Christmas, so I am needing someone." She said, "I think you'd be perfect." I went, "No, this store is for girls." She went, "We got boy characters." I said, "Yeah, and they're all in the back. No boy's going to want to come up there when you got like Spotty Dottie, which was a pink Dalmatian, and Hello Kitty up front. You got to put at least one of the boy characters up front to attract a guy." And she went, "See, I didn't know that. That's why I need you here. I want a man working here so boys will come in and shop." And to be honest, now that I know Miss Laretha, she was really that smart. She knew if I get a guy, then the boys who don't want to come into the store will come in because they see me. And they'll think, "Oh, it's not a girly store." And that's what she wanted. And so I worked with her for years, super thankful for that. Got to know her. I had all these good memories about Sanrio. Still have one T-shirt and my work shirt, which still fits like a glove. I really love it. So I may wear that polo to work tomorrow. That'd be kind of funny. But anyway, the Sanrio store had a lot of good memories. Miss Laretha and I were best friends after that. She always referred to me as her son, and to all accounts I was. I'd always stop by years after, decades after we had, even when I was married to my wife, I would still go by and see her, hang out with her, talk to her at least once a year, maybe twice. And we'd always talk, and I talked to her daughter all the time. And during the pandemic, I think 2021 or whatever, she had passed away. She was in and out of the hospital back then. I remember in 2019, probably the last time I saw her and visited her in the hospital. Whenever she go to the hospital, I go, well, she was in intensive care, and only family members were allowed. So I texted her daughter and said, "Hey, tell Mama," because that's what I call her. I said, "Tell Mama they won't let me in because I'm not family, but I'm thinking about her. I love her, and I'll see her when she gets out of intensive care." Well, Miss Laretha raised hell with them and said, "That is my son. You will let him in here. Why are you not letting my son in?" She pitched a fit. And so they said, "You can come in." So I came on in, and she goes, "See, you can't tell me that's not my son. You can't tell me you can't see the resemblance." And of course, she is dark as all get out. Okay, and we had the best time laughing about that. But she said, "From now on, you're my son. I don't care what you're saying." She said, "You really are." And during the pandemic, I'd check on her through her daughter who had a cell phone. And when she passed away, I was there for the funeral and actually learned a lot more about her. She was such a hard worker, providing for, husband had died a long time ago, but, and I didn't know her complete history. And so, but I loved her, and I appreciate her giving me this job. So that's why it's number 3. Number 2, we had to wear green aprons. And then came our new aprons. And our aprons were faded green. They were getting kind of nappy and, worn out. And I was like, oh, thank goodness we have new aprons coming in. And they opened up the aprons, and they were pink. And I remember I looked at her, and I said, "I quit." And I was dead serious. I said, "I quit." And she laughed. Everyone started laughing. All the girls started laughing. So she called home office, and I was the only one permitted to continue wearing my faded green apron while the girls got to wear their brand new pink aprons. I refused to wear the pink apron. And then later on, they switched to the really nice dark blue polo shirts that I thought were really cool. Like I said, I still have mine today. And then my number 1, and every blue moon, I don't have her since the pandemic. I've not seen her, so I'm hoping she's okay. I know she had a lot of hardships. Her husband was in and out with cancer treatment, so he may have died. And I know her son was having issues too, and I hope he didn't die. But I don't know. I just don't see the family anymore. I used to see them all around town all the time. But my favorite person to work with, and Besides Miss Dolores, love me some Miss Dolores. But besides Miss Dolores, I loved working with Sandra. Sandra was in her mid to late 40s, maybe, or maybe mid 40s, maybe young. I don't remember, but she looked very young. She was small, short, country gal. Caked on the makeup. Maybe that's what made her look younger. But she was just so funny to talk to, and we had so much fun. And she had some fake teeth. She had dentures, and she was kind of embarrassed about it, but she liked me so much, she took out her dentures and showed me. She said, I'm very conscious about this, but you know what? I just love you, so I'm going to show you. She's like, see, that's kind of embarrassing. And I said, no, it's not. But we talked. We had the best time, so many good memories with her. And my favorite time was when her daughter, who was a spitting image of her. In fact, the last time I saw her daughter, I thought it was Sandra because they look so much alike, even though Sandra has gray hair now and her daughter doesn't. But her daughter, who's in her 40s, looks just like Sandra. And I went up and hugged her in the grocery store. She's like, okay. And I went, and then I realized, wait, dummy, this isn't Sandra. This is her daughter. I went, no, remember me? I'm friends with your mom. You came in all the time. How's it going? How's your mama? She's like, oh, good. I was like, whoop, creepy guy hugging another woman in the grocery store. But I thought it was Sandra, and I was just so happy I wanted to hug her. But anyway, I told her, I remember the first time I ever met her, I remember she came in, I think she was 17, and maybe Sandra was late 30s. I don't know. Anyway, we were talking one night, and she just burst on in. She went, well, Angela, what are you doing here? She went, hi, Mom, I'm pregnant. Just like that. And there was no one else in the store, and I was like, my eyes were like as wide as saucers. I was like, whoa. And Sandra goes, Matt, I'm going to take a break. And it may be a little bit longer break than usual. Can you stay and watch the store? I said, do you take as long as you want? And then when I saw her at Walmart a couple of years back, I told her that story. I said, do you remember that shit? I sure do. I said, I've always wondered what possessed you to think that was the best way to tell your mom. She went, well, I knew when I found out she was still in high school. She said I was senior in high school. Mom had warned me a million times about this boy. And, of course, when I got pregnant, I was like, oh, hell. Now I'm in for it. She is going to give it to me. So I thought, how can I say this? How can I break it? I thought, you know what? I'll just go up to her. She's at work right now. I'll just walk in there and say it with the biggest, brightest face and just take my punishment and get it over with. So I don't even know what the conversation went, but I remember Sandra was gone for like well over an hour. Her teenage daughter was pregnant, and that was so funny to me. But good times at the mall. And to kind of tie things together here from Prince of the Universe, you want to know how I got to Cards, Coins, and Collectibles. When the mall closed, again, Mr. Bummed is sitting at his house playing Resident Evil with a mutual friend of me and Wes's called Brandon. Not the Brandon we've had on Prince of the Universe, the other Brandon we talk about. And Brandon would come over and we'd play the first Resident Evil, I think. And I remember thinking that was the scariest video game I'd ever played. I remember thinking that. It was so scary. But we were running through it and beating it in January. And then he said, so what happened now that they closed your store? I went, I'm screwed. I said, I got to find another job. He went, you want to come work with me? And it was like the angels the heavens had opened up and angels were singing and the light was shining on me. Because I had always dreamed. I mean, and still, I know Wes and I said this on Prince of the Universe. It has always been my dream job to work at a card and comic shop. I'm so proud that I got to do that while it was still relevant. And I was like, I would do anything to work there, And so he hooked me up. I got the job. That's where I met Wes, and the adventure continued. And that Prince of the Universe episode where we talk about all the good days at Cards, Coins, and Collectibles. So I basically springboarded. I probably had maybe 2 weeks in between, because I remember once I'd left, or maybe it was on my dying days, Brandon hooked me up, and so I think it wasn't that. I'll have to remember. Maybe Wes knows when I started, but I want to say it was early, and maybe late January, early February. I'd started that same year that I'd lost my job because I was panicking. I was like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to afford rent and everything. So, as they say, the rest is history. But I'll come back next week and I'll talk about other jobs that happened after I left cards going to collectibles. And that is next time on Saturday Morning Samoflange.